today's question is, something that's, a lot of people, have been debating about, and, a lot of people have frameworks already, but IRIT, is kind of going to simplify it for us in under like 3 to 5 minutes on how to frame an upsell strategy, right? So IRIT, what have you got for us today?
What dawns on me is how many companies absolutely have the same methodology for selling to new customers and to existing customers. We know for a fact from our experience, it just doesn't work. So when you're thinking about upsells and cross-sells and expansion selling, essentially, you want to start thinking about a different strategy than you would for your new customers. And how do you really continue on selling to existing customers? The one thing that most companies don't leverage enough is the data we already have about them. And when you think about the data that we have about customers, it really splits into two parts. There's the quantitative data that we can get from different systems, and there's the qualitative data. The place and time to use those two areas of data is obviously in the customer journey, is after you're done with the sales handoff, you're done with the implementation, and probably after year one, when you've established a good solid case for product adoption, you can start talking about additional things that you can do. So I want to expand a little bit on what does it mean, qualitative data. Qualitative data is the stuff that customers tell us. And there's different people within the organization that customers talk to. And so instead of just honing in on what customers say to the CSM, we can have listening posts in the customer success, but then also in support, in your delivery or services teams. And yes, if you have an account manager that works with your customers, that's another listening post. So typically, there would be at least 4 groups where you can have those listening posts, and on a regular basis, using technology ideally, make sure that any kind of business needs flow back into the person that's supposed to own the expansion. I'm not going to go into who that person is, because I think that's a big question in and of itself. So let's talk about quantitative data. We have different data pieces about customers throughout the organization. From support data, we can actually see trends for support tickets. If we track our tickets properly and we have the proper attributes per ticket, we can see which customers we can upsell or cross-sell training, for example. So upsell and cross-sell is not just about features and functions and other products that we have. It could be services that we can offer. So we can have those kind of listening posts in the data itself to look at support data. We can look at usage data, survey data. I think that's underutilized by a great deal. Besides NPS and CSAT, most companies don't leverage surveys enough to really pick up on additional business needs or even an interest in additional services. Online community discussions. Most companies don't have a regular, rigorous listening to what's being said in the community, and then have prescriptive playbooks on what to do when certain things are being said. We also have the sales data. So a lot of times we can tell that a customer might need additional products or services if they have a combination of different products that they purchased, or a combination or lack of certain services that are typically being sold in a mix of products or solutions. So thinking ahead, I think, is one of the things that I would recommend for companies as they think about building a strategy for expansion selling. There should be a motion that happens on a more regular basis versus, the reactive mode to, hey, a certain customer told me that they have a business need. I think that there's an opportunity here, and off we go on the races. That's a very reactive model. I'm going to talk about a proactive, consistent model that flushes out opportunities for expansions in a more consistent manner. So what would that look like? So first of all, we wanted to start tracking and analyzing three different pieces of data about our customers. The first one is consumption trends. Consumption trends would include what have the customer purchased versus what are they currently using. There's also adoption trends, which is how much are they using? What's the frequency of usage? What are some of the things that we're expecting them to use, but they're not? And then obviously there's the goals and the KPIs. How much value is the customer actually getting? What other business needs do they have? And have they achieved their goals with us? So having all of that, if you think about it, when you start designing campaigns for expansions, there's really two types of data that would drive a campaign. There's the ad hoc campaign, which almost everybody's doing. We hear someone has a need. All right, let's go do it. Or we launch a new product or a new service. We'll have an ad hoc campaign about that. But I want to also talk about recurring campaigns. What I would recommend is companies start doing quarterly campaigns for expansions. And that would typically be driven by either the consumption trends or the adoption trends. So it would be very data-driven versus ad hoc. So what we want to do is to translate customer information into actionable insights.
Yeah, if I have to kind of, put a framework kind of a thing to whatever you have said, it's about CAG framework, right? So it's about, how much are they consuming, how much are they adopting, and then what is the gap that you could do? And collect these data from qualitative and quantitative sources and kind of be proactive and kind of upselling or, telling them that, hey, probably you might need this in the next quarter. So with that, I think your upsell strategy is not only going to be driven by emotion, but also packed with like power pack data from various sources.
Exactly. So what you want to do when you're designing the strategy is first and foremost, take a look at what are all the customer needs that we know we can address. And then say, okay, based on the products and the services we offer, what is the bundle that we can offer a client that have that specific need? Then look at the data and you could say, all right, how can I identify based on the data that the customer have those needs? Like which customers currently are most likely to have those business needs based on the data that we farm from all those different data sources that I've mentioned. Then now you can compile a list of customers and say once a quarter, here's a list. And have the customer success manager or the account manager actually call out to those particular customers to actually validate that the need exists and start sharing and creating awareness to those solutions. Oftentimes, customers are not aware that there's a solution to the problem or that they're aware of these, different things that you can do for them. And so once you compile the list, you launch the campaign, you see how it goes, and then from there, obviously, you can start adjusting and improving those campaigns. But if you do it on a quarterly basis, you will get more expansions than if you just waited for ad hoc requests from customers or things that the CSM might bring up.
So I think for those of you getting started with your upsell strategy, remember the CAG framework that Iright just expanded on. So it was a pleasure hosting you for Uncomplicate, Iright. Until I see you next time, this is Praveen signing off.
Thank you for having me.